Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Welcome to the webinar on transitioning to a dynamic IT channel sales strategy. I am Rashi, your host, and I'm from the marketing division at Denave. It is an absolute pleasure to be talking to the wonderful set of audience today, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions and expectations related to channel partner management in this session. And to address those, we have the perfect presenter for this session, who's also our in-house industry veteran, Neelkant Oberoi, AVP Direct Sales Marketing. A little introduction about Neil. In our office, he's mostly known as Neil, so you'll hear him addressed in the same manner throughout the session. With an extensive career span of more than 18 years in managing sales operations, Neil heads the direct sales and marketing vertical at Denave. Owing to the splendid industry exposure over these years, Neil comes with a rich expertise in managing diverse sales programs across B2B channel as well as retail sales, along with channel and distribution management. Neil, would you like to switch on your camera and say a quick hi to our audience?
Thanks, Rashi. Thanks for a wonderful introduction. And hi, everyone. This is Neil, and I take care of direct sales management within Denave. Looking forward to a wonderful interactive session. We're going to talk about channel sales essentials in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. And before we jump on to the main agenda, let me give you a quick brief introduction about the wonderful company that we all represent. We are a 22-year-old India-born sales tech MNC, which provides an end-to-end sales enablement, keeping the core focus intact, which is empowering sellers' journey. Denave has remolded its strategies in line with the new normal, helping businesses to get back on track after pandemic-led downtime by leveraging its tech enablement services is now our priority. With the changed marketing dynamic, Denave is focused upon the opportunities which have emerged amidst uncertainties such as remote virtual selling model becoming mainstream, digital stepping in all the traditional requirement, cloud transition becoming a necessity, and much more. Denave is all about helping the customers not just surviving through the transition phase, but also thriving in the new market. So that was a little bit about Denave. Now, also to have a very interactive session, I'll give you a quick background about the tool that we are using for this webinar. Zoom is pretty much a very friendly platform. However, people who are new here, if you have any questions throughout the session, you will see a hand raise button and a Q&A section on the bar which is placed at the bottom of your screens. Please feel free to raise your hand to ask any questions or post your questions on the Q&A panel and we will take it up in our pit stop. Now, without any further ado, this session will also be is also live on our Facebook page, and the recording will also be uploaded on the YouTube channel for the further interaction. So without any further ado, I think we're ready to start. So over to you, Neil.
Thanks, Rashi. Thanks once again. Hi, everyone. I would quickly run you through the agenda for the webinar so that we know that what is that we are going to cover in this session. And later, we're going to deep dive into each of those topics one by one. Starting with the agenda, I would say that we are going to go with the go-to-market for each and every types that a particular OEM would assume or expect a go-to-market to be. There are various options which are available. And then, of course, an organization or an OEM or a vendor at one particular time in place considers when to enter a channel sales ecosystem, or maybe is it the right time. So implementing channel sales model, the right time is something that we're going to discuss about. Different types of channels, a solid channel strategy requirement, and then most important, that is primary selection parameters of a channel partner so that my channel strategy is a success. What are the present day nuances of a channel ecosystem and proposed solutions? Some of the best practices to keep the channel engaged and scale up the partner ecosystem. And last, some of the case studies that we are already driving with some of our large brands in channel management. So this is all that we're going to cover. And moving on to the next slide without a delay, go to market. Basically, any organization has various options for go to market, which can be starting from a B2B model, wherein if if the organization intend that they need to go very niche with respect to the industry vertical, and they need a first-hand direct interaction on their own, they can put in a small team or a mid-sized team to approach to a corporate or an SMB customer and take the product and services directly. In B2B, the various entities are a B2B, a business to business entity. The selling entity is also a business entity, and a buying entity is also a business entity. The prime aspect, the ROI, is the main deciding factor, which is considered in a B2B sales model. Also, the overall sales cycle, since it is related to a lot of approvals in hierarchy, is a little longer than any kind of a B2C model. Also in B2B, the main aspect is the customer is expecting the knowledge to be imparted in a way that they want to know more on the content, the more on the products, and hence the education part is of prime importance, and it leads to the content marketing. However, if I compare it with retail, normally in a retail, the end user is a consumer, which is people like you and me, and hence the organizations or the vendors or the principal OEMs use this methodology either by reaching out to the customers directly, which is by their own stores, starting up their own stores, or through an e-commerce model, which can be through an affiliate partner or through their website. However, since we are going to have a series of such webinars where we're going to double click and deep dive into B2B and retail later, this specific is for a go-to-market for a channel and distribution, wherein there is a third-party entity to be enrolled to take the OEM's product and services to the market. The market can be a SMB or a mid-market or an enterprise, or it can be for the retail, for the individual owners like the buyers like you and me. So this is it, and now we're going to go deep dive into the distribution and channel ecosystem. So at what point in time an OEM decides that this is the right time for them to go into a channel, or do they need to expand so that channel can take their product and services? Is it the right time for anyone? So what are the primary factors? That is what we're going to talk about. The very first one is about the product maturity. An OEM needs to have that at the back of their mind. If the product is still in the initial stage of maturity, it's always advisable that they go for a direct sales model rather than an indirect sales model, because they would want a first-hand feedback from various entities of business to business entity in terms of what is working and what is not working, till the time the product becomes matured in the overall cycle. In that case, if still they prefer to go for a channel and the product is not matured enough, and channel may lose interest at the point in time because they would not be comfortable enough to take the things forward to the organizations or to their customers if the product is not matured, and hence the channel strategy falls flat. And hence we recommend the product maturity is of utmost importance before we take that to the channel ecosystem. Next is, of course, the sales process maturity. When we say sales process, whether the OEM has defined the right stages in the sales process, whether the right buying triggers are being acknowledged and well defined, the gestation cycle, the target audience is well defined. Once this is there, I think we are good to go to channel. And third is sales process complexity. If my sales process is lengthier and it is more complex, channel will soon lose interest and will not be able to resell. It's better to keep it simpler for the channel to imbibe and take it forward. Channel policy definitions are next as an importance for the channel to be onboarded. Unless until the policy is crystal clear, you will not be able to, or an OEM will not be able to have the mindshare of the channel. So it's all the more important that whatever contracting with the channel is kept simpler and well defined for the channel to come on board. And last but not the least is overall business value proposition for any channel ecosystem. Unless until a channel partner understands what is in it for them, as they are all business entities, they are all entrepreneurs, they would certainly not give their mind share. So they need to know what is in it for them, how they can grow along with the vendor, along with the OEM together. And hence, once these things are clear, I think that is the right time when one can certainly opt for a channel and can extensively reach out to different geographies using channel ecosystem as a helping hand. Now, the types of channel, of course, that comes to the mind, as we've said, there is a direct channel wherein the direct organizations or OEMs take their product and services, market their product and services to the business-to-business entity, or there can be an indirect channel wherein there is a third-party entity, which are like channel partners who are onboarded. There can be a tier one approach where there's only a disti and a channel partner, or there can be a disti and a sub-disti and a channel partner, which is the tier two approach, depending upon the geographies, depending upon the product and services can be onboarded. And hence, there are different kinds of models which we are going to talk about further, from disti to a reseller and a retailer and an affiliate partner like Amazons of the world. So these are the different types of channel in both direct and indirect standpoint. Now we're going to talk about what should be at the back of an OEM's mind for constructing a solid channel strategy. These are the 3 P's which we can see on a screen, which is planning, perseverance, and patience. These are something, I understand these are something basics, but very important to have a solid channel strategy. And this is where a lot of OEMs or a lot of startups, when they're coming up, actually fall prey when one of these is missing in their overall strategy. Starting with planning, there are organizations, there are maybe almost 3 types of OEMs. One is which actually doesn't plan a lot before they move into the channel, considering that the product and services are world-class and hence they do not need to plan much. And they finally, their channel strategy finally fall flat because channel doesn't get aligned to it. The second kind of OEMs are one which actually plans optimally in terms of pros and cons of the channel, the alignment with channel, the benefits for channel, and basis that they get into a channel strategy and are actually successful. And third kind of organizations or OEMs are the one which actually overplan a lot. They do a lot of over planning is happening, due to which they're never able to execute that plan, because due to over planning it becomes complex. So the idea is to make it simpler, but optimal planning with respect to do's and don'ts in the kind of channel ecosystem that is required, so that you can get a channel mindshare for yourself. Perseverance is equally important as planning, because unless until we have that kind of mindshare, we do not want a channel partner to be considered as an employee, because these are not our employees. These are not employees of an OEM or a vendor. They are individual business entities, and hence the OEMs have very less control over them. It's always important, starting from planning, the plan has to be agile. The plan has to be adaptable for different geographies, for different kind of partners in the partner ecosystem, and for my product and services that I want a channel to market from on my behalf. And hence, I need to touch base continuously with the perseverance towards these partners so that they become successful together with an OEM. And last but not the least, the OEMs needs to have patience to get revenue yield from the channel ecosystem. As it is already said that any good thing takes time, because Taj was not built overnight, and hence everything takes time. If an organization thinks that their own employee or their own sales reps would take a quarter's time to actually see results coming in, the channel ecosystem takes little longer, because they takes time in terms of understanding the product and services, the target audience. They need to be trained and enabled on their sales pitch, and also onto the objection handling part. And hence, once these things are there at the back of the mind before we enter into a channel ecosystem, this lays the foundation of a solid channel strategy. Now, coming back to the channel selection criteria, what are the primary factors, or what are the primary elements that one needs to have in their channel selection criteria? Because 80% of the time, the channel success depends upon the kind and quality of channel partners that you onboard. So while selecting, an OEM basically falls into prey or to the temptations which are there to sign up and sign up anyone and everyone. So the advice is that certainly we should not sign up and get onboarded with anyone and everyone who is willing to sign up. There has to be a science behind getting a right channel partner onboarded, so that tomorrow it is more on quality of partner rather than the quantum of partner. So the temptation should be avoided to sign up anyone or all the partners which are saying yes. We need to evaluate them on various parameters. We're going to talk about those parameters as well. And today there are multiple partner portals available and automated tools available, which helps an OEM to do the channel partner evaluation before they shortlist them and onboard them. And some of those tools are being utilized within Denave as well, wherein we have a channel portal where we drive end-to-end channel management from that portal as well. So not to sign up anyone and everyone just to get a quantum, and not to fall prey for these kind of temptation. Get a quality of partners rather than a quantity of partners who would add value to my business. Second, in case of migration to a new business model after one business model is successful, normally an OEM wants to go with the same ecosystem without even checking with the partner alignment. If an OEM is deciding to migrate to a new business model, maybe from a hardware to a software or to a subscription or a cloud model, maybe the same set of partners may not aligned to move ahead in the journey, and hence the assumption or temptation of going along with the same partner should be avoided, rather than the same profiling should be done for a new business model again. So these are few of the temptations which should be avoided in selection of a channel partner criteria. Moving ahead, now if these are the things which needs to be avoided, then what are the parameters or what are the selection criteria that should be taken care of, right? So these are the 4 basic criteria which anyone should consider and evaluate and rate a channel partner before onboarding them. One is a coverage, second is compatibility, third is competence, and fourth is the commitment levels. Now, coverage means how many customer base, or what is the customer base or the target audience of my relevance is under the kitty of that particular partner. What are the types of industries and geographies that he's able to cater? These are the things which will help me evaluate and rate him on the coverage parameter. And there is a set algorithm in the tools available today who can give you a 10-pointer rating out of these parameters, and they can get an average weighted score. Compatibility, whether the partner is compatible with my business model. There can be different business models which an OEM wants to sign up with a partner, and hence whether he's compatible enough to market my product with that kind of a business model, he needs to be rated on that and evaluated. Competence, whether he has a past relevant experience in taking similar products to market, similar services to market, whether he has been working with any of the competition or not, and he has that kind of talent within his ecosystem that he can actually market my product and services, basis that he gets rating onto the competence part. And last but not the least is the commitment. What are his commitment levels? Is he giving his mind share to my product and services or my kind of a brand to the similar kind of services is doing with someone else? Does he have a sales team ecosystem as a part of a team who can actually market my products on my behalf directly into the target segment? Is he actually spending time with his sales team, reviewing them, and assessing their performances, so that we can understand the commitment levels of the channel partner before signing him up, and also rate him on these parameters. Basis this, he get an average weighted score, and it is up to organizations on an OEM strategy. How do you want to shortlist him? Whether anyone who's standing up to beyond 8 on a 10-pointer scale gets shortlisted, and anyone less than that doesn't get shortlisted, or maybe kept into a next bucket of churn management, which that we'll talk about in the coming up slides. So these are the few things. While selection, the OEM should not get tempted and fall prey to some of the temptations. Second, these are the parameters that they need to evaluate the partner before shortlisting and onboarding them. Now, of course, we need to see which all quadrants they should fall to get shortlisted. Certainly, initially they should be talked about, or they should be evaluated on a compatibility versus a coverage matrix. A high compatibility towards my business model and a high coverage is certainly gives them an edge over others to be the best fit. Once they are shortlisted under compatibility and coverage, they need to be evaluated with on competence and commitment. And high competence and commitment should be recruited immediately, because these are the right fitments for my kind of a business in terms of the relevance. And hence, I will from this ensure that my channel strategy is having the right set of channel ecosystem and channel partners to make it success in future. Quick time for a poll. Over to you, Rashi.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for the wonderful session that we are having right now. At this point, I will just like to have a quick view of our audience on the topic that we have in hand. I will just launch the poll. I hope the audience can see the poll on their screens now. The question is, what, as per you, is the biggest challenge in channel performance management? Activation, participation, contribution, long tail management. You have 30 seconds to put in your votes, and then I will end the poll. I think we're going to have an interesting result here, Neil. Yeah,
Great.
I'll just end the poll now. Thank you so much, audience, for your participation. I'll just share the results, Neil. Just see if you can see the results on your screen now.
Yeah, I can see the results. Thanks, Rashi, and thanks audiences for participating in the poll and sharing your viewpoint. As per the results, certainly we can see that contribution seems to be the much more bigger challenge, followed by long tail management, and later with activation and participation. So let's see how these challenges prevail in today's channel management, and how what are some of the best practices and suggestions to take care of that. Moving ahead to our next slide, which actually talks about the challenges which are there in similar channel ecosystem scenario. So as we see, these are the nuances which are the challenges which has been taken up from the industry itself, which talks about activation, participation, contribution, long tail management, channel identification in terms of categorization, and a churn management. Basically takes care of overall channel performance management, is something that is also coming up from the industry and the polls. We're going to talk about each of these and see how these can be taken care of in our channel management strategy. So basically, this slide talks about for an OEM to set up a business management system in order to take care of the activations. Now, when we say activation, there are two parts to it. One is for a startup who has an onboarded X number of partners, but they are not doing the first transaction and hence are not active. How do I activate them? So maybe there is an issue with the enablement. We need to take care of various enablement drives with them. I need to enable them onto my product and service with respect to trainings, not only at a partner organization level, but also at a partner sales team level. End-to-end handholding with technical and business queries to each one of them, giving them a clear-cut guidelines and understanding onto the target audience and the go-to market that they need to address, and what is the go-to market share in their present in their partner customer ecosystem, and see how that can be increased over a period of time. Proper sales pitch for my product and services with respect to overall sales arms and armaments, which can be soft and hard collaterals, and post-sale detailing to help them handle the objection handling when they're in, or their team is in the field, so that they're well enabled. Now, this enablement drive doesn't need to be only once, right? There has to be a repeat, or there has to be I would say, a refresher, maybe on a monthly or a quarterly basis, plugging gaps in their understanding, so that over a period of 1 quarter, they start yielding better results and they get active within the very first month. Second is certainly giving them a clear business value proposition understanding, which are rational, which makes them understand that yes, they can grow with the OEM's strategy and they can get aligned to the OEM's channel strategy. Now, this business value proposition is something like what is in it for them and what is their earning potential. Maybe a simulator on a calculator can be showcased that this is if this is how you progress, this is how your earning potential can grow. And yes, if you put in that kind of work in this particular segment, this is how your roadmap is going to be, how your roadmap in terms of your growth with the growth of an OEM, and an OEM is thinking of partners growth first and then its growth. And that is how you can get the mind share of all those channel partners and their maybe their owners or uh, uh, their firm owners. And then also to showcase them what is my product and service roadmap. It is not only to show them their roadmap with the present set of product. If I am ensuring that I have done the proper market mapping in case of a startup or an existing organization, that this is what my product roadmap is going to be. We are going to come with new versions, we're going to come with upgrade things, we're going to add new portfolios, and hence this is aligned to your business model, Mr. Channel Partner. And hence we can actually showcase them the value proposition, not only from the earning potential, but also onto the roadmap front. And last, ensuring that there is a motivator for a first order. Normally this is very much prevalent in today's days, where there is some kind of recognition goes there, where in terms of ice breaking is happening. Maybe that ice breaking incentivization, or maybe in terms of recognition, or some kind of merchandise for the channel sales rep that the partners are having. Once these three things or activities are continuously taken care of, the activation levels certainly goes up, which we have seen in our lot of brand that we engage with onto these fronts, which leads to a better understanding of the onboarded partner for OEM product and services, their target audiences, and understanding how they can grow together, and finally increases the activation number for the OEM towards the onboarded partners. Next is about overall performance management, which have various activities which leads to increase participation and contribution, long tail management and categorization. Now, starting with the first activity, which is potential based coverage. Now, this is okay, or this applies to both a startup or an organization which already has a large set of channel partners. Because when we have a large set of channel partners, it is always important that my channel managers as an OEM is giving that kind of touches which is optimal for my channel partner ecosystem. There has to be a proper journey cycle plan, which we call as JCP or a beat plan, to do coverage which is based on potential of a partner. Now, in case of a startup may say, how can I get a potential, because they've yet not start yielding results. That at that start point, the potential can be mapped up with their background, with their relevance. Suppose, for an example, if I talk about a SaaS-based organization wherein they want to onboard channel partners which are more relevant for SaaS kind of a products, they would certainly onboard most relevant potential one kind of a partners who have customer base and product and services only for SaaS, and SaaS becomes their bread and butter. So they become most relevant and hence priority one for that particular for that particular OEM. And there can be a second set of partners who are a hybrid partners who are selling SaaS-based products as well as hardware products to their customers, and becomes a second priority. Also, the third, which are only selling to hardware, but have a potential to be enabled to sell SaaS because they have a large customer base. Of course, the size of customer base in all the three parameters also have a permutation combination. And basis that, my journey cycle plan of my channel managers should be aligned. Ultimately, they need to have that kind of relationship, built up map for each kind of partners in my ecosystem. And hence, once this is done, the kind of repeat business that you get from these partners increases their participation and contribution over a period of time. There is also an element of churn management basis this coverage, which we'll talk later in the slide. The second part is channel campaign management. The whole advice is for normally a startup or a full-fledged channel organization, one should not bombard with a lot of channel campaigns at one point in time, because normally we have seen organizations or OEMs come up with a lot of channel campaigns, sales campaigns, which either a channel partner, if there are a number of channel campaigns, they get confused, or they focus only on one. ultimately the investment in running those campaigns goes unaddressed, right? So it is better that we either launch 1 or 2 campaigns which are much more simpler, which give lifts to my focus product and services, and also is designed in a way that there is a proper slabbing, so that even a smaller partner gets qualified for a smaller slab, and a bigger partner on a volume based approach that they go ahead with. And hence there are proper discussions that my channel manager does with them on a repeat cycle basis onto their channel funnel for their final sellout tracking, and bridge gaps if required in terms of any support required on a day-to-day basis. The slabbing ensures that their contribution increases from one slab to other, because that makes them feel that if they go to the next slab, these are the various benefits that they can get. Those benefits can not only be the monetary benefit, but other benefits in terms of categorization and other recognitions and perks that comes their way. So these first 2 activities to some extent take care of their participation and contribution increment. But yes, there has to be a mother activity which has to be running across as horizontal, which is relationship built up. With these are as we have already said, these are all entrepreneurs. These are not our employees. Relationship is the key to success. There has to be a repeat touches. There has to be a perseverance. There has to be a mind share that we need to take, so that we make them understand the kind of wallet share that we are spending on partners, and hence we are aligned with them and we are supporting them in each and every activity. Next is partner categorization. Once the partner ecosystem is at least 6 to 9 months or 2 to 3 quarters old in the system, is the time where we understand that now they have gone through complete 1 or 2 cycles of the overall channel sales cycle. Now is the time to evaluate and categorize partner basis their competency, capability, scalability, and the performance that they have brought onto the table over last few months. And we can categorize as per their category A plus, A, B, and C, and build up a plan to uplift B to A and A to A plus, or do a churn management for C. Moving ahead to the long tail management, which was again one of the most important, I would say, area of discussion as per the polls. Normally here, what happens is 80-20 rule follows of the Pareto, because 80% of my business is coming from only 20% of important partners or volume partners. But my 80% of partners which are impacting only 20% of business are a part of my long tail. Now, how do I ensure that I increase contribution from those long tail, or I increase participation from those long tail? They may not be, they can be categorized into a opportunist partner, or maybe categorized into a dormant partner, or maybe categorized into a completely non-relevant partner. So ideally, the advice here is we need to do a recheck onto their profiling. So there are automated profiling tools available in market. There are certain tools that are being in-house utilized by us, wherein we ensure that they are reprofiled and see that how we can get their mind share for our product and services. Is there something that is missing, or we have onboarded someone which were actually not the relevant as per the selection criteria that we discussed in slide 3 or 4 in this presentation? And finally, once we find that yes, they are the right partner as per the selection criteria, but there are certain misses because of some kind of I would say a communication gap, or there is no effective I would say follow-ups happening, or a relationship built up happening, then in that case, we can design certain programs to activate our long tail, which is like a demo program, wherein we give them some kind of discounted hardwares for their own self usage, which they can further use the demo program for their end customers, and hence facilitate them on that front, which can also be into a free demo version of any kind of a SaaS-based product for some days, which they can further extend it to their customers, and hence handhold them to actually get activated. Or we can do a trade-in, trade-up program, wherein in a trade-in, trade-up is something wherein there is a competition account where he is into, and we give some competition perks to win the competition accounts. Or maybe there is a versioning of my product and services, and the upgrade is required, and upgrade over a present product is given on a discounted rates. Or we can also ensure that there is a deal registration algorithm in my tool, so that any smaller partner who is from a long tail gets the benefit if he registers a deal before any volume partners, because normally at times the bigger partners eat up the share of the smaller partners. But deal registration is one thing which, if brought in place, can take care of that problem as well. And there are certain algorithms which helps in terms of automating the whole thing. Moving ahead, after these activities, the contribution, participation, and long tail management is taken care of some extent, where there is increment approximately 22 to 25% expected over a period of a quarter. And later, in terms of it's not only ending after these 4 activities. It is actually, as I said, it's a very, very continuous process. It is a very, very I would say relationship builder process. It's a two-way thing, and hence there has to be a proper review mechanism in place where we ensure and see that how is my partner, after they are being activated and they're participating, their contribution goes up. And for that, we need to understand my consistency of billing from a partner, which can be certainly done over a period of a quarter. Once my partners in this ecosystem under evaluation is almost 2 to 3 quarters old, I would see how is he improving in terms of his consistency, wherein we can have a 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 metrics for a quarter coming in, wherein a partner who's billing only for 1 month in a quarter comes under a 1/3 bucket. And if someone billing 2 months in a quarter is coming in a 2/3 bucket, and somebody coming in all 3 months of a quarter coming 3/3 bucket. Normally the contribution is like, my hardly 18 to 20% partners fall into 3/3 bucket as an average. And a major chunk, I would say close to 30% comes in 2/3, and remaining 50% is in 1/3. So the whole idea is, with this analysis, how can I lift the numbers from 1/3 moving to 2/3 bucket, and how it is moving from 2/3 bucket to 3/3 bucket gradually with various partner programs and with various relationship built up. And once we have a higher number in 3/3 and 2/3, there is a time when we can see that with this review mechanism, my contribution and consistency and participation, all 3 have been uplifted. And there is a partner automation tool in place which can do a live tracking of my channel managers, JCP adherence and deviation, partner campaign tracking, how each campaign is being tracked and how each partner is performing in this campaign. And they can have a live access to see where they stand in that campaign, so that they can have trust on the OEM and can have their mind shift towards them. And last but not the least, a real-time claim achievement and settlement tracking on the tool can be done, and the tool can be built for that. And there are some tools which are already there in the market taking care of this, automating the whole channel performance management in a channel ecosystem. Ultimately, what it brings onto the table is an improved understanding of partner category and their potential and their performance to an OEM at a click of a button. Complete analysis in terms of how my participation contribution is increasing with respect to my active partner base, or which are the partners which I need to churn around if they're, after everything, they're not helping me out in terms of growing my business. Last is increased resource productivity through smart tracking. When I say resource, it can be a partner resource if they have a logins in my tool, or it can be my own channel managers who are driving the channel map up and their relationship and sellout drives. So this is about various aspects of the performance management in the channel ecosystem. Now, this slide, we are going to talk about some of the industry best practices for engaging and scaling up the channel partners. Now, this would be something, I would say a brush up of all the things that we've talked about till now, which includes, how to do basic level seeding so that the channel grows, scales up, and start giving me results over a period of time, which has the key elements like recruitment and onboarding that we talked about with respect to the selection parameters, the program management and the performance management to take care of the performance challenges of a channel ecosystem, and finally the field engagement support and access to the various resources that comes their way. So in our recruitment and onboarding, as we have already discussed, we need to ensure that the proper parameters while selecting is taken care of, so that the OEM is proactively has the ability to answer the questions during recruitment regarding their product and services, their growth roadmap, their value propositions to the partner, and get their mind share for my product and services, and get them onboarded with respect to the kind of sales that they need to drive, the kind of trainings and enablement they need, and the kind of administrative background documentation that they need to do for an onboarding. And to make it, it has to be a complete, simpler, non-complex process, so that they feel easier for my business and hence come on board and get recruited. Later is a later program management, wherein I design any kind of benefits which is aligned with my partner business model. For example, if my business model is not aligned to a technical partner who basically needs benefits like a developer's kit, or maybe I would say a portfolio in terms of the technical trainings, but I am giving them only sales incentives and not talking about various technical support that they require from an OEM, then maybe their business model I'm not getting aligned to. And hence, in that kind of a program management, I need to align to the partner business model more. Then only partner will get aligned to my business model. And hence, finally, does the performance management, ensuring that how consistently they are billing, what is where they stand in the stack of CAT A, CAT B, and CAT C, and how I can increase their contribution and participation by giving them real-time field support in terms of handholding if required to their customers with their sales team, enabling their sales team and giving them access to the overall resources at their display, which can be an access to the automated tool, the access to the sales collaterals, access to the trainings to uplift their skills and take it to the next level. So these are the few best practices which finally help OEM to engage better and scale up the channel partner ecosystem. This brings us to the last part of our webinar before we go to a Q&A, that the case study wherein we as in Denave has been already working with some of the larger brands and helping them in their channel strategy together, and that is going to scale up their business already. So this is the very first case study where we are working for a consumer channel partner activation. And I think we are working with this technology, hardware, IT client for more than 8 years now. The whole challenge was when they signed up with us, they were only working with some of the top 1,500 volume partners. But the whole idea was to increase the breadth, and the charter was to identify the tier 3 channel partner, onboard them, recruit them, enable them, and finally engage with them continuously in terms of getting the breadth business in place. From 1,500 today, we have almost 14,000 plus partners added in last 8 years, and we are working continuously with them. I understand this 14,000 doesn't bill every quarter, but yes, there's an always at any point in time 5,000 active base, which gives them a quarterly output of three-figure K USD dollars across the table. So this is something wherein we have utilized extensive channel experience and engagement with channel to take this program to the next level for our top IT client. Similarly, this is a second case study which talks about not for consumer channel, but for enterprise channel, where a commercial channel, where we were given a charter to engage, identify, and onboard the value-added reseller who are basically back-to-back reseller who customize the deal for the enterprise level customers for a SMB, enterprise, and mid-size organizations. There also, the whole charter was to engage, identify, and onboard. So since these are very niche B2B, or when I say B2B, I'm talking about back-to-back partners, which are value-added resellers. So 1,200 plus partners got engaged, out of which at any point in time, 300 plus partners are actively billing for that particular quarter and adding X USD for that customer. Due to NDA, we are not supposed to reveal the revenue figure. So that's why we are just talking about an X USD K of dollars that are being added as a value. This is about a third entity or a third organization, which is basically a SaaS-based organization who came into India and joined hands with Denave, wherein the whole charter was very niche to SaaS. I understand you can work with 14,000 hardware partners, but when you find the real SaaS-based partners, so those SaaS-based partners are very niche, and that too relevant for a particular product and services. The number or the count of active partners who are very, very relevant is lesser. So the whole charter was to identify those partners from the sea of 15,000 partners and onboard, recruit them. Hybrid blended tele plus feet on street model was deployed, and with real-time tracking. So today we are working with we have touched almost 2,700 plus partners and profiled them, and 311 partners have been onboarded and they are live and active working in the system for that particular OEM. This is about some of our experience in channel management. That is in all from my side before we move into Q&A. And thanks for being a wonderful audience. Over to you, Rashi.
Thank you so much, Neil. A very interactive session indeed. We have a couple of questions in the Q&A panel. I'll just read it out for you. There's a question from Umesh. Umesh is asking, which are the OEMs currently Denave is partner for?
Yeah. So the OEMs that we are working for Lenovo Enterprise. We are working for Lenovo Consumer. We are working for LogMeIn. These are top of the mind, which are there for channel ecosystem. Otherwise, for B2B and retail, we have other customers which are like Google, which are like Microsoft, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Next
Neil.
question, Rashi.
I hope that answers your question. Another question we have from Ravi. Ravi says, hi Neil, in the service industry, what is the average wait-in period to understand whether the product is matured enough?
Okay, so see, it depends from I would say industry to industry. If you are talking about a hardware industry, so I think 1 quarter to I would say from 3 months to 5 months is good enough to understand the feedback, the nuances of that product. And if it is a subscription-based product, which doesn't require much of logistics, and it is a SaaS-based products, I would say less than 1 quarter is sufficient in terms of understanding whether the acceptability in terms of product maturity is achieved or not.
Great. I hope that answers your question, Ravi. If you have any further questions here, please feel free to reach out to us via chat or Q&A. There's another question we have from Habib ur Rahman. He says a sales professional has longer and stronger career relationships with prospects than with employer. Prolonged trade-in becomes a challenge without context of boring iteration of salesperson. How to maintain a balance in long tail management from the employer point of view?
So what I can understand from the question is, when an employer is engaging with their own employees for a long-term management, the whole engagement becomes boring, or there is monotonousness that comes in. How, from an employer standpoint, do I engage with my employees? And I think the question is for employees and not for the intermediaries like channel partners, and how to make it much more interesting so that it becomes easier. If that is a question that I've understood, then certainly, see, there are a lot of engagement. Strategies. There are a lot of engagement, fun at work activities, and there are a lot of campaigns which an employer can run to make a healthy competition for a long tail management with their employees to make it exciting for them. So it is, the whole idea is the journey to become simpler, and to make it more of a, I would say, excitement for them, which can be like something like fun at work, or which can also be like earn more with more activations. And there can be some contest that can be run to make it much more lively, which normally happens between an employer and employee. Also, ultimately, it has to be some kind of mind share of employee, that why it is important. It becomes monotonous at the end of the day if the employee doesn't understand the crux of it, like why it is important for his own performance, for his own management, so that tomorrow the long tail becomes active. His business will become an auto mode in his territory, and he doesn't have to do much of a I would say visit to a lot of partners which he has to do right now. So if that hard work goes right now, and that is what we can show as an employer, can show a roadmap to him for future. That is the whole story. And once he get aligned to the broader strategy of the employer, I would say that things will become much more easy.
Thank you, Neil. Habib, I hope your question is answered there. If you have any further queries, please feel free to reach out. Neil, there's another question we have from Vivek. Vivek says, hi, I am into BPMS Enterprise Document Management System and are looking for someone like you who can help us increase our sales through channels. Any exposure do you have for things like what I'm looking for? Some brief which you can offer us, please.
Sure. So see, document management is something that we have not directly got associated with, but this is something to do with in terms of reaching out to a lot of organizations. We have done the document management, pilot with some of our customers into a B2B space where direct B2B engagement was required. But certainly once the partner ecosystem, is identified, when I say identified, if the characteristic, which kind of partners is the most apt partners for this kind of a business is being identified or zeroed in, we can help you, identify or recruit those partners. Point number one, onboard those partners and drive sales through those partners, provided the value proposition for those partners are well defined and those partners get aligned to that value proposition. And if required, we can also identify the competition partners of documentation partners, which are like we were working with some like writer information was one which was into documentation only, and hence we came across such discussions and which was very fruitful. So we can certainly help in getting the right kind of partners and also do a due diligence which are the partners who are already working for such kind of a solution with respect to your competition, and see the niche market for those partners which are there, and hence get them onboarded for you.
Thank you, Neil. We have one more question from Ravi. Ravi wants to ask, how much time do you think one should invest in engaging with a new partner before understanding whether the partner is productive?
So again, it also, Ravi, a very interesting question, and thanks for asking this. See, this again depends on product and services. If my product and services is a little technical and complex in nature, it certainly takes more than a 2 quarter. But if my product is a run rate product which doesn't need a rocket science in terms of technical aspects, then I think 1 quarter to 4 months is sufficient. Also, it depends upon how frequent enablement I'm doing for that partner. If I'm doing just enablement once in a quarter, then I think it will take more time. But if I'm doing it every month for all the set of partners, I'm enabling them, I'm giving them trainings, I'm assessing their sales team ecosystem, and I'm bridging the gap in their understanding more often, I have a refresher trainings aligned, then I think 1 quarter for a run rate product is sufficient.
Great. I hope that answers your question, Ravi. One last question we have from Bashit. Bashit wants to ask, what are the legal agreements we should consider to onboard an OEM?
When you say OEM, I hope you are talking about partners, when to onboard a partner, because normally OEMs onboard partners, right? So basically, legal agreement, there are different types of agreement which partner and OEM signs up. One is a transaction model, like, if there is a transaction model already defined, like on what basis the payment terms between an OEM and partner would be, if it is a direct from OEM, or if it is not direct from an OEM, normally OEMs has a layer in between, which is a distributor, and we align those partners under that distributor. And then that distributor has its own TNCs for onboarding a partner, which can be a documentation level TNC, like his TIN number, his PAN number, and all those things are required to onboard him from the contracting standpoint. And second is, of course, on what transaction, what all margins can he earn, is the second part. So these are the two primary aspects of onboarding a partner, which goes into play, which can be either directly through an OEM or it can be through an intermediary like Disti, because normally in a larger scenario, the distributor fulfills the partner need and partner fulfills the customer's need.
Thank you, Neil. Since it seems like Ravi has some further queries, I'll just go ahead and unmute Ravi. Ravi, you're on self-mute right now. You can unmute yourself and talk to Neil. Hello, Ravi, can you hear us? Seems like some network issue there. All right, I think we've covered all the questions for now, Neil.
So thanks, Rashi, and thanks everyone. Over to you.
I think we can hear Ravi now. Ravi, do you want to talk?
Yeah, Neil, sorry, I was actually moved to a different place because I had some disturbance around. Yeah.
That's okay.
Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Neil, I wanted this to understand whether in case we're coming out with a product which is not.
Maybe your voice is a little feeble. Can you little increase the volume? I'm not able to hear it clearly.
So, Neil, we're coming up with a new product.
Yeah.
We perceive that there are no competitors in the market around right now.
Ravi, I can't hear you. Ravi, your voice is low.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of disturbance around. So probably can I type a question?
You put up your question on chat and I will repeat.
You can put it on the chat. Rashi can read it out.
Yeah. I think it's quite an engaging session that we have had, Neil. A lot of questions. People are still posting questions. I wonder if you have some more time to go through them. But anyway, whatever questions we were not able to take today, we encourage all of you to please post your questions on webinar@denave.com, and we are all ears on that ID.
Certainly, Rashi, I think it was an engaging session, and I hope this was beneficial for all of us. And I say all of us, certainly audience, and of course from audience, we are also learning and we are getting to know about the certain things that is actually in the mind of a lot of OEMs today, which also helps us to improve in terms of designing our own strategy.
Yeah. This entire session is also, like I said, live streamed on our official Facebook page, and the recording will also be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to share it with your colleagues. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to write down to us on webinar@denave.com. Apart from the webinar recording, you can also access our previous webinar recordings on the YouTube channel. Please feel free to go through them. Once again, thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Take care, stay safe, stay home, and have a great weekend. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thanks, Rashi. Thanks, everyone.